Alright, so here it is, the first new Super Metroid 80% record in about 13 months. What you're watching is my Twitch highlight for the VOD. I usually like to keep the end of my last run for context, I guess. You can see here I was a little frustrated. This was about 5 hours into the stream, and I had quite a few good paces this stream. That was a pretty good run up until Low in Warfare. I could have still gotten the record with that run, so I was honestly pretty aggravated at this point. I usually don't immediately restart after that kind of a run, getting that deep into the run, but anyway, so this is the longest drought for a record since Hoda Ruby had it seems like. For those of y'all that don't know, 80% means, generally means in this game, the no major glitches, 80%, which is the more hotly contested record in this game. Usually, but there just hasn't been a whole lot of top tier competition in the last year. I think for myself, I was pretty happy with the 4158 at the time. I thought that was the time, a really good run, so I wasn't displeased with it or anything. And I'm assuming Oates was pretty happy with having the world record, so neither of us really grinded for it. But I picked this up recently, a little bit earlier than I meant to, for the Disney show thing. I didn't tell anybody at the time because I couldn't while I was playing 80% again. But I wanted to get back in 80% because I knew this run could be improved. I think we all knew it. I mean, my 4158 had a pretty bad fan tune pattern, no lava sparks, so. And Oates had difficulties with Dragon. I think was his worst problem in his 4156. Some people have asked why there's new interest in this category. Part of it would be probably Moonfall. It's not like... So there's this new trick where if you moonwalk, you can basically take off the cap on your falling speed. You'll see it right here. It's only used a couple of times in the run. It can be used maybe 7 times, 8 times, if you really squeeze everything out of it, but the more you use it for tiny little improvements or to make rooms that aren't quite as tall faster, the more liable you're just going to lose time on those if you're not really consistent at it. It's more of a sort of a high risk thing. I don't know. It depends on where you do it in the run, I guess. Like, the earlier in the run, the more I'm willing to take risks. But we're just talking about, like, losing a second compared to gaining a quarter of a second, so. Anyway, the moonfalls do save a good 5 or 6 seconds without too much difficulty, so. While they didn't alone help this record become possible, it did push this record into 41.4x territory for sure. So I've been playing this category for about 3 months now, and Behemoth's been pushing it really quickly too. If I would not have gotten this run, he would have gotten a record the next day, which would have been yesterday. This run's 2 days old at this point of doing this commentary. One thing to note about this run is it has a really insane early game. the gravity time is just insanely hard to race. There's very few mistakes to gravity, and I get a pretty fast pattern on Phantoon, so. But this is an exciting time for Super Metroid fans. For good reason. This is one of the most popular categories for people to watch, and people love this category the most, you know, overall. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a fantastic run. A lot of history behind it and so forth. But we have the top 3 players all working very hard to improve their times in this category right now, so this record may not stand too much longer. I am planning on trying to improve it myself. I think there are some obvious mistakes in this run, even though it's quite a good run. It will not be easy to beat. But when you have 3 people that are very motivated, it's not unlikely at all for it to happen. Doing better about jumping over these things clean, not getting hit by that last mushroom. You don't want to clip your head on that mushroom. Slow you down a little bit. So the first sequence brick in the game, the early supers coming up. Do a little risky strat here to open the door. If that was later in the run, I would not do it. If you miss it, you have to climb back up that room and find another enemy to kill, like a missile. It's very awkward if you miss that. I think I remember watching a run of Crystal, like when Crystal streamed once, or A Link to the Past, or maybe it was just a discussion they had. And she used to do a lot of insane strats, but I remember her saying something about wanting to do Dark World in a consistent manner. It was the smart way to go about it. And I always remembered that. It's like almost 2/3 of that Link to the Past run, or is it a little less? It's a good portion of it. But the point is, keep the consistent things at the end of the run and do your risky stuff more towards the beginning of the run. If you can help from it. Some things you can't. Some things you just have to take the risk to go fast, so. But, you know, while there's a lot of talk of Moonfall and new tech, you have to remember that a run like this, there's just so many people that have worked to develop this run to make it what it is. It's crazy. Then, if you did a comprehensive list, it would have to be over 100. I don't know how many people would be credited for improving this run, but I would say it's in the hundreds. For those of you all that are a little less familiar with this run, this route's been used for a couple of years now. It's called the new route, but that's just sort of a name that's stuck, you know? Even though it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense anymore, it just sticks. But the normal boss order of this game, you'd be doing Kraid first instead of Phantoon. But we'd be doing Phantoon here. And the main reason you do it this way is you can do Norfair all in one pass. You don't have to go to Norfair and then come up. And the typical route before this would be to do Kraid and then get some upgrades from Norfair like Speed Booster, Waypoint, and then come up towards Phantoon. But then you have to come back down to Norfair to go to Ridley, so You're talking about 2 extra elevator rides and a lot of extra door transitions. And that's the main reason we do this route instead. Actually doing Fantoon first is not that big of a deal. It's pretty close to where if you did Fantoon first and then you did Norfair and then you did Dragon and then you did Ridley, it'd be pretty much the same as if you just did Kraid and then Fantoon and then went down. You know. Really the big savings is the Norfair in one pass. So this is where I lost most of my time in my 4156. And this and Lava Spark were the 2 biggest ones. And I'm pretty sure my 4156 had a slow mid. This one you see a fast mid. So that saved me 12 seconds. Just nothing I did. Just the game giving me 12 seconds here over my previous time. But the problem with this is it makes you a lot more nervous when you get a really good Fantoon pattern. So it's easier to freeze up and play worse. If you know you got really lucky, you know you're not going to get that lucky all the time. You know, it may be tomorrow, it may be the next day until you get that lucky again. So it puts the pressure on you to, you know, not to screw something up royally, basically. I did the damage boost there because even though it only saves a half a second, I know with full missiles here and full energy that I'm liable to get some, if I don't get some energy drops, I might get some nothing drops, so I might as well just take that 30 damage and it probably won't affect me either way, so might as well go for it. Yeah, that attic strat, if you didn't notice, I hit 2 enemies with 1 super at the end, and that's what makes it a really good strat. The only problem is you use more supers than some other strats, but it's hard to beat as far as quickness goes. And if you do get the double shot with the super, it's really not that bad on using too many supers. I used to jump through the door, but I've started just slowing down barely at the end of that room to get the last 2 drops. Hopefully a super from the last key hunter. Because right here, at this point in the game, even at the Fantoon drops, it's very important to look at your ammo count. You know, it affects the run a lot more than you might think. And it starts right here from the Fantoon drop. I must have gotten a pretty decent Fantoon drop because I got 7 supers. So if you have 5 leaving Fantoon, you'll have 10 leaving the super upgrade in the wreck ship. And you really want to have as many as you can get here. That's why I almost always do that farm before bowling statue. If I can get a couple more supers, just it's a little insurance that I'll be going into Lower Norfair with a good super count. So once you get to Ridley, if you don't have a good super count, you're going to lose so much time. So it's really paramount here to pay attention to. Even if somebody has a pretty good pace going here, if they just have a terrible super count, it's not as good as it looks, basically, you know. Another thing here is power bombs. I like to have 3 here if possible. With 3, I can power bomb the tube open. I can power bomb coming out of high jump, and I don't have to farm a power bomb going to Bubble Mountain. And it saves me 3 missiles not having to farm that power bomb. But 2's good here. Even 1's not too bad. If you're here with 1, you can just break the glass and use a bomb strat and come out on high jump. It's a little slower, but not that big of a deal. I guess the worst part about it, in my opinion, is I don't do it that often, and I'm liable to screw it up. So I kind of hate having 1 here, but I'll deal with it if I do. So if you have 0 coming down Red Tower, you definitely... I think it's advisable to farm the frog right next to X-ray entrance. But you can break this glass later, it's just... It's slower, and I'm always afraid I'm going to forget it. You know, I'll get there and it'll be really awkward switching to power bombs. Just forget. But the reason you bomb that early is because while you're waiting for the power bomb to explode, you can run through the entirety of that screen, and it saves all that running time. I mean, it's not that big of a time save, but it is a pretty considerable one. Because when you come back through there, you've got speed booster, and you can run through that room really fast. You'll see the strategy later. I'm pretty sure I get it in this run. But I'm through that room in like 1 second. Maybe a second and a half. So, this is all the missiles I'm gonna get. You won't see me getting these missiles, or the ones that made me. 15 is the minimum you can get away with it without it slowing you down. You can have less, but it will slow you down. You can't have much less, you can only have 10-10. You know, not that long ago, a couple of years ago, we used to get, maybe 3 or 4 years ago at this point, people used to get 20 missiles, 25 missiles. And that's another reason this game hasn't been improved in a year. It's very difficult to improve this run. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience. So we mockball all the way through this room, solely so we can do this strat right here. If you don't set up your position correct, you'll kind of, Samus will fall off of that stairwell, not stairwell, but stairway coming out of that door. She'll basically trip and fall there. But if you meter your speed correctly, you can just run straight and jump straight through that room really cleanly. I have a little problem here. So I do not try to do the boost if I'm slow getting up there. I just try to kill that waver and get it out of my way. Because I don't know where it's going to be if I made a mistake earlier in the room. And we jump through that door to align the door. And what I mean by that is in any room where you are moving up or down where it's more than one screen high, if you go through a door when it's not aligned with the center of the screen, you'll notice this if you pay attention at all, or if you pay attention while it's happening and just take notice, the door will go from that position, which is higher than the middle, and it will shift back to the middle position. It does it slowly, like you just saw. If it's really way off, it can take almost up to a second. So, like, jumping through that door aligns the door. It's what we call aligning doors. It lines up with the middle of the screen, so it does not have to realign before it starts the transition to the next room. You do lose a little bit of running speed going through that hallway, but it's worth it. Some places it's not worth it to realign a door, but a lot of places it is. So you can see we've lost a little bit of time in Norfair. It hasn't been quite as good as we wanted to. We had some really insane drop luck right after Speed Booster. I think I had 3 supers, and I got like full in 2 drops, but I didn't get any missiles, which is just completely backwards. It doesn't make any sense. So I had to stay for 3 rounds of bugs anyway to get missiles that I really need to do my Ridley strat, as well as farm power bombs in this next room without it taking forever. If you don't have missiles here, then you'll be double shotting these enemies since you have ice. It's really awkward. So there's a lava spark. I missed that in my PB, so that's like 5 or 6 seconds gained from my PB. Now, a lot of people think that shine spark was developed for any percent, but it's been around longer than that. There's a run called low percent speed booster, where you get as few as items as you can in the game, while making it possible to still beat the game. And this is without major glitches again. So there's a way to do this without Speed Booster, but you need Ice Beam and Gravity Suit. Well, with Speed Booster and Gravity Suit and no Ice Beam, you can also get through the game. There's also a lot more different ways than that, but they're all 14% with no major glitches for a human. But this low percent Speed Booster category used to use that strat, because at the time, any percent had Gravity Suit and Space Jump to get into Low Norfair, so it was slower to actually do that Shine Spark. But for low percent low percent Speed Booster, you did not have Space Jump, obviously. So that was definitely the fastest strat. So far, Lower Norfair has gone pretty well for me. A little bit of slop in Norfair, but Lower Norfair I think has been pretty good. I think I missed the double Kago here. When you pass through this platform, it's called Kagoing. There's sort of like a plant enemy early in the game called a Kago. It's like a little ball that splits out flies when you shoot it. And I guess that was the first place where people figured out they could use a morph ball to get inside of something like another enemy or something like that. Those platforms that raise up and down with spikes on them are actually, I believe, classified as enemies to the game, which is why you can do that. And same goes for the Zabatites near the end. So I had a little problem with my strat there. I want to have 10 supers coming in Ridley, but I had some issues there, so I wasn't able to farm after the Agile. So you see me going for X Factors on Ridley. That's what we call these special beam attacks with a wave beam. I wanted to do 4 X Factors, but Ridley was not being cooperative with me, so it's a pretty risky strat, but it's, what can I say, I'm sentimental to it, you know. It's something that I developed for this category. Although X-Factoring Ridley was not a thing that had never been done before by any means, I came up with that setup, so it's hard for me to abandon it if I know it can in any way be faster. But I could sit here and debate that for 5 minutes probably, but I'm not going to go into all that. Ridley was kind of a butthead here. Ideally, you would like Ridley to sweep a lot immediately after the X Factors. For me, if you don't do X Factors, Ridley will not swoop immediately, but you always get these pogo patterns. I think sometimes the worst is when Ridley goes back and forth between doing pogos and swoops, because it's just a little bit more unpredictable sometimes like that. And sometimes you have to wait to figure out what Ridley's going to do. So I didn't have to do a farm there. Really the main reason you want to do that farming strat is to get energy to escape here without, you know, too much risk of dying. There's always going to be a risk of dying coming out of here, out of the warfare. Not so much for me with this run because I had to pretty odd amount of energy. I usually do not have near this amount of energy. But really what I was looking for was supers there. Because again, just like that period of time between Fantoon and Ridley, right after Ridley, like just as in Fantoon drops will determine sort of this next thing, Ridley's drops will determine how fast you can get through Meridia, basically. Or get to Meridia if you have to slow down and get more supers. So, you know, you could go through here with 0 supers, get 1 off the Cactus Hack, get to Ridley, get to Kraid, and get full supers, but Kraid's not always that giving. I know that all too well. Unfortunately, I only think I got 1 super from that farm, so it's questionable whether it was worth it. If you go fast enough in this room, you get this little boost off the ball. Otherwise, there's no way to get up to that platform without falling down and jumping back up. The later the boost off the ball, the worse the goal transition is. You can go too fast where you miss the ball completely. So I lost quite a bit of time on that Ridley fight. The world record that I'm running against, by the way, on the right side of these splits is the previous world record by Oates, and the left side is my PB, the 4158. If you took Oates's 4156, the segment from Fantoon to Ridley, and then spliced it in this run, well, you'd have a hell of a speed run then. Although, that's not to say the rest of my run was perfect, but it's pretty solid, I think. So unlike my PB before, there's no way I could complain about luck on this one. Fast mid Fantoon, lots of supers coming out of speed, and it looks like I've done pretty well picking up supers all the way to this point. Let's see. I got 4 from Metroid, 3. I only picked up 1. Maybe 2. Coming out of low warfare. But I got like, what, 4 there? That's pretty good. So if you have 6 coming out of here, you can use 2 missiles to kill Mini Kraid and get 10 total. If you've got 7, you can use a super missile and then gain all your super missiles back to full again, which is nice to save your missiles. Luckily I had 8 because I for some reason wasted 1 there. That was kind of weird. So anyway, you can do Batuan. You can leave here with 8 and still have the same fight with Batuan. But the problem is, if Batuan does not give you a super, at that point then it's really difficult to stay, to not have to slow down to get supers before Dragon, or not to have a slower Dragon fight. So again, supers are very important to remember here. Every once in a while, power bombs will be an issue here too. But if you know strats to pick up power bombs, it's not a big deal. There's a lot of old 80% route strats to pick up power bombs because it used to be more of an issue to move Meridia with the old route than it is with this route. All these crabs that you see running around have an extremely high chance of dropping power bombs. So I was nervous far before this point, but this is always a very nerve-wracking point in the run because these 3 little things in a row here determine whether this run is going to be good or not, basically. If you miss a particle there, it's just... It can turn Batuan into a catastrophe, really. Even just 2 extra rounds of Batuan popping out of the holes again is like almost 7 or 8 seconds. Usually a really bad fight can take 10 or 20 seconds longer, and the same goes with Dragon. So 3 things I'm talking about. And I got 2 supers off those leeches, which is really lucky. And very, very useful for Dragon. Because we need to use 2 supers just to get to Dragon. So, the Batuan fight, this trick, the full halfie, if you miss this, the best way to miss this only loses like maybe 5 or 6 seconds, but if you miss it completely, you can lose 10 plus seconds. Dragon's similar to Batuan, you can lose 20 seconds easy here. 10 to 20. If things just don't go perfect, you know. So very nervous here. I use a stutter short charge to get my Shine Spark charge here. I'm always afraid that that stutter is going to fail me when my hand's jittery and I'm nervous. But luckily, the nerves didn't affect it too much this time. So I have enough energy to Shine Spark all the way across again, so I'm not going to try to get... There's another trick you can do in addition to that fight. But I didn't go for it here. Because it's an unnecessary risk, basically. For a questionable reward. It would allow me to get drops pretty quick. But it still would slow me down a little bit. So I don't think I'm going to choose to do anything other than just bomb jump out of there with the blue suit. The other trick I'm referring to is it's called a spike suit. Basically you charge up a Shine Spark and then you have to do a double frame perfect. It's an unmorph. You take damage from the electricity in Dragon's room with your stored Shine Spark. And as a ball, and then you unmorph the frame, which is a 60th of a second. The frame you touch electricity, and then you have to press a jump at a certain interval after that on the exact frame. I think sometimes there may be a two frame window on that second press. It just depends on how the first press goes or something like that. But if you miss it, you can completely lose your blue suit and your Shine Spark. Your capability to do a Shine Spark back across that room. If you hit it, you can run and still be able to Shine Spark. Like you can, Samus can run as long as she wants to, which is different from blue suit. Because blue suit, if you run, you lose your blue suit. You can't Shine Spark anymore. So. So when you're on a good pace and all 3 of those things go well, at least for me, that's when I'm really gonna get nervous. So I'm definitely sort of put myself in a state here, you know, very focused, nervous and focused. I'm not sure I would have predicted I would have saved this much time on the split, but it doesn't surprise me much that Dragon's strategy is too good. So parts of the game like this that are near the end of the game are just some people might call it a break, like sort of a break time room. But the problem is you don't want to have all this extra time to think about how good of a run you got going. You know, you don't want to think about that. Just makes you more nervous. That's why it's kind of painful that before the baby Metroid starts moving, there's this long cutscene, and that's like a run making or breaking moment in the run. So when you pause, I or anybody else who pauses during an elevator transition like that, where you grab the elevator as the pause screen's fading out, if you compare that with an elevator transition where that doesn't happen, now this room strat, I'm too proud of this room strat. I love that room strat. I'm glad I got that. Anyway, so if you compare it to another elevator transition, you'll notice that Samus sort of stops before the elevator goes off screen, and then the transition starts occurring if you pause during it. So it saves like, I think 2/3 of a second of time just by pausing there. So that's why I will pause earlier if I can help from it. Pretty good look from the Metroids, pretty clean Metroid rooms. For some reason right here I forget to shoot the door, just chalk that up to nerves. Here you want to just blast through this room to the left side to start this cutscene earlier, but this one, the more glaring and fixable errors in this Tyrian segment here. I think I think the skip was a little safe. I'm pretty sure I took an extra jump here to make sure I was going to hit the skip. I wasn't confident. It's kind of a feel thing. You have to do it a whole lot to really feel what I mean when I say this, but I didn't feel confident I was going to make the last morph ball jump. So I didn't go for the quicker skip. I did an extra jump. It's like an extra second and a half, I think. Remember, this room went well too. No issues. I think I missed this jump here though. That's the only problem. I love that strat, using the bomb to shatter the Rika that's coming up at you. It's really cool. So at this point, I wasn't. In the past, I might have been more nervous on Mother Brain, but for this last Game's Done Quick, I did low % ice, so I'm pretty comfortable with Mother Brain at this point. In 80%, there's a lot less shots you need to do. It's 60 shots compared to 200 low % ice, the same amount of health. So I've worked on this fight enough to know I'm pretty darn comfortable with it. Every once in a while, Mother Brain can throw out some really funky patterns where she might shoot an eye laser, throw a bomb, and then shoot a red beam like almost all at once. It can be tricky, but of course I'm still a little nervous. You know, things can still happen here. You can die almost instantly if anything happens here. You want to make very sure not to miss any shots. You don't want to release your charge too early. If you do that, every charge shot takes a second to charge. That's if you do it perfectly. So every time you miss one, it's pretty bad. So after I get through with this fight, I was very hyped. You can see me get pretty hyped up here. I knew I had it. I knew I was far enough ahead where there was no chance I wasn't going to get a new record here with this run. After this, there's nothing that can really. If you're more than like 5 seconds ahead at this point, then you almost can't screw it up. You can lose a couple of seconds in the skate, but it's hard to lose much more than that if you're really focused. I guess the worst thing that could happen would be bonking the shine spark, and then that could. There's like the big one in the escape where if you fall down it in certain places, it can be a real pain in the butt, but that really shouldn't happen. it's not only that. I mean, going into the Turing, I knew it's 10 seconds ahead, but we also have two seconds to save with a moonfall on the escape, which is a nice little buffer of time. So even though I'd made a couple mistakes in this Turing segment, I was pretty confident at this point. I don't really know what my end time is liable to be by looking at the time here. I think it's a little less than 2 minutes from when the head drops after Mother Main 3, but I usually don't pay attention to that during a run. I think it's almost a mistake to pay too much attention to your time at all times. Like, I know people that know, like, almost every room they know if they're behind or ahead. It's like, yo, just stop looking at your timer so much. I guess it can be a good thing sometimes to look at your timer, to know that. I think more often than not, it's probably just a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Maybe it's not bad, but it's not good. It can be bad, I think, by obsessing over it. You have to let the mistakes go and play as well as you can from the present onward. If there's no hope in that, well, you know the answer to that situation. Here's the moonfall again. I do a different setup than some of the other people doing it now. Overfiend had told me that if you land from a jump and you're holding jump, shoot, and angle, and then moonwalk backwards and let go of shoot, and just hold backwards, it's like the easiest way not to screw up a moonwalk, or a moonfall. And this jump here. It's okay. And yeah, I'm definitely happy this broke the 50 mark. I would have been happy with any improvement, even if it was like a 41:57. Still would have been happy with that. A little extra happy with this. But the Ridley's just so bad. I can't be totally satisfied with this. Can't be the final word. Anyway, like I said, besides me, there's two other people playing this category pretty heavily right now and that are really, really good. So you're liable to see more action in this category soon after a 1-year drought.